folks, ladies and gentlemen, hello, hope you're doing well, and welcome back to Transport Fever 2. This is episode 13 of the Land of the Free series, based in the northeast corridor of the United States. And we're kicking things off today just outside the passenger station in Trenton, New Jersey. In episode 12 we constructed this station and linked it into our Amtrak Northeast line that originates in Boston. If you remember, I did say the plan was to extend it all the way down to Washington DC, and the initial goal for the previous episode was to go as far as Philadelphia. However, I got distracted by some new unlocks, so we never got anywhere past Trenton. So we're going to pick up where we'd left off before I got distracted, and we're going to look to expand our line down towards Philadelphia. That will be the fourth state, I believe, on this line, starting in Massachusetts, in obviously Boston, Massachusetts. Then we go to Rhode Island, we go into Connecticut, and New York and New Jersey. So that's 5 thus far. So Pennsylvania will be the 6th, and hopefully, well, we should get that done today without too many issues. So let's see how things stand. We have 47 million. I did say I was going to run the game a little with the date paused to accumulate some funds. I have done that. I've also upgraded some more of our cargo lines, not all of them, just the most crucial ones, the ones that make us the most income. We focused on them, because if we can improve them and make them faster with greater throughputs, then they're going to make us even more money than they already are. So, but enough about that. We want to get these passenger lines continued. So this is where we are right now. We don't extend out past the station at this point. Philadelphia is just along the river. In terms of where we would want to place our station, initial thoughts would be somewhere over here, but that could leave us too clustered and too crowded if we ever need to use these 2 factories right here. So I'm thinking we'll do it over this side. It does leave it rather close to the residential district of Philadelphia, but I think it's the lesser of the 2 evils, because we don't want to make everything too compact and too messy over here. Having it on this side also has the added benefit, in fact no, this side would be better, because then we're in a straight shot into Wilmington. So, decisions. I mean, we could squeeze it in there and then just make a point to not use these 2 factories, or we could have the factories supplied by a cargo station up here with a go-between line using our trucks to get the goods in and out. It's a possibility. Now, if we are this side of the river, the other thing we have to consider is our station in Trenton is over on the opposite side, so we would have to bridge over the river before we get to Philadelphia, which isn't the end of the world. It's not too much of a problem, I shouldn't think. Right. Obviously, the other plus point about having a station here is we're not near there's 1 or 2 residential buildings, as we can see, but primarily we are dealing with industrial and commercial premises, so the noise pollution will not be a factor, or it'll be less of a factor. Right, we need to make a decision. It's no good just talking about it forever and a day, so let's go ahead and make our decision and commit to it right now. And we're going to put our station there. So there's our Philadelphia station. Like we did in Trenton, I think we'll get the bus network all up and running in Philadelphia before we connect the lines. So if we first of all provide the road access and have that curve the correct way, like this. There we go. We're going to need, as per, a bus stop on the doorstep of the station, and then one in Philadelphia itself. Now, thankfully, Philadelphia is quite a compact settlement at this point, and I think we can get away with having just a 2-stop system for now, just to get the ball rolling. And we're going to be going like that. Let's just change that colour so it's a bit more visible. Yep, you're taking a nice route, that's fine. So let's quickly rename this, and we're going to stick with the traditional naming convention for this series. So this will be the Philadelphia Station Link. There we go. Let's get ourselves a depot for Philadelphia. We don't have any in the immediate area at this point, and I think we'll have it on the outskirts of town. Somewhere like that. Bit of an angle, but that's fine. So we can use the max. We unlocked them in the last episode, and we'll start with 3. We want to give them the appropriate colour scheme, which is that one there, and set them on the way. In fact, first of all, let's do the maintenance and then apply them to the route. There we go. Now, one thing that was pointed out is I messed up some of the tags for some of the lines. I can't remember if I have corrected them, so let's have a look in the line manager, and if there's any that we haven't, or I haven't corrected, I can change them. Now, the problem was I had used T for some of the trains. Now, I do think I have corrected that. Yes, I believe it was corrected. It looks like it was. I can't see any that aren't. In fact, oh no. In fact, yes, there we go. All our trains are either RC for cargo or RP for passenger, and all of our road vehicles are either B for bus or T for truck. So I did correct it, and now we can forget about that. So the buses are now running on their line, so now we can turn our attention to putting down the tracks and hooking up into Trenton. So what we're going to do is we're going to head this off to the left just a touch to begin with. We want to put down a diamond so we have both platforms available, and then what we want to do is turn back to the right, and the reason I turned left ever so slightly initially was so we didn't impact and collide with this little country road here. Now, I think the best option for us, because eventually we'd like to see this become some sort of major link road between Trenton and Philadelphia, so we don't really want to have our train line crossing over it. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually lift up a little, and we're going to manage the incline by manually dropping it down a bit with these smaller increments by holding the shift key, and we'll keep that same incremental step here. We'll stick with the earthworks for this, and at this point we want to curve our line over this and over the river and then head down into Trenton. And we need to curve over pretty much now, because any closer to Trenton we're going to struggle to get the railroad back down to ground level to connect to the station without it being too steep. So I think so far we're doing pretty good. And we're going to keep all this rail line that we're laying right now at the same height, so it's neither rising nor falling, or if it is, it's barely noticeable. And let's see here, if we come straight across to there, That should leave us plenty of room to bring the line back down to ground level, and it's over such a distance that the actual gradient is reduced, or it's not as severe as it may ordinarily be, shall we say. Thankfully, we've managed to keep 75 miles an hour the entire way, and as we can see, we're dropping about 18 meters. No, about 23 meters, get your maths right, something like that. We'll drop in around about 20 meters, but it's over 1.2 kilometers. So I'm hoping that's going to be tolerable. I mean, we are ever so slowly progressing through the years, and obviously as we are doing so, we're going to find ourselves with access to far more powerful locomotives what can tackle the gradients without as much concern or much of a challenge as you'd perhaps see on your early iterations of the locos. So what we're going to do now is put the signals down, and once the signals are all in place, that's when we're going to turn our attention to extending the line so it includes Philadelphia on its run. So let's put a couple of blocking signals down between the two cities. I'm going to keep them off the bridge. We've got plenty of ground to work with after all, and I believe that will be our last block, but we'll have obviously the one there to control access in and out of the station, and then one there to clear the junction behind us. I think that's looking pretty good. Might have to do a quick bit of terraforming along these edges here. Let's see, smooth tool, bump up the strength and the brush size, and then just run along the edge here just to push it out a little bit so it looks ever so slightly more natural and less plonked out of the sky. There we go, that's not perfect, but it's certainly an improvement, and I'll do some more of that off camera. The last thing we'll do is where we have this brown earth protruding through, we'll just paint over it. Oh, that's the wrong shade of grass. There we go. Yeah, we'll just paint over that to give it a complete unbroken grassy texture like so. Okay, all that cosmetic work aside, we can now turn our attention to amending our line. So the Amtrak Northeast, we can now take it from Trenton into Philadelphia and then back to Trenton, and then obviously New York, Stamford, New Haven, New London, Kingston, Providence, and finally back to Boston. And there we go. We should now see, if we do that, yep, there's the line. It's doing exactly what we wanted it to do without any issues. This now means Philadelphia has access to the Amtrak, so theoretically we should start seeing people wanting to take the train, and we can see one was just generated there at the bus stop in the centre of Philadelphia. These are obviously all registered to go to Philadelphia because they've had a platform change. Originally they would have been going onwards towards Grand Central, and in fact, as we can see, 45 are going to New York, 14 to Stamford, and then 3 into New Haven, and then just the 2 into New London. Okay, so now we want to head to Wilmington. Now we have a slight issue insofar as our residential district is up here, which is pretty much going to be rather close. Well, it is going to be rather close to the passenger station, and then you have the emissions and the noise pollution issues to deal with. We will be bypassing Aberdeen, I think, but we will be stopping into Baltimore and then obviously finally terminating it in Washington. So it's an almighty train line, this. Let's press on. So we're going to have a nice flat Oh, we have the 442 Atlantic at 2.5 million. That will be very useful for our cargo lines, but we're not going to get ourselves distracted as we did last time. We're going to focus on getting this at least as far as Baltimore, which shouldn't be a problem. Oh, sorry, Wilmington. I forgot Wilmington, yes. So this will now be our 7th state. Wilmington, of course, being in Delaware, unless I'm very much mistaken. So let's put our station down. That way we know exactly where we're going to be headed to and what direction we need to steer our tracks. So I'm going to put it there. And as I said, it does mean it's going to be fairly close to our residential district, especially if the residential district in Wilmington begins to expand, which it's likely to do somewhat when it has some public transport connections. But that's fine. Right, and again we'll do the bus service first, and that will do. So let's go for a new line. That's the truck station, so we don't want that. Is that also? Yes, it is. Clicking the wrong thing there. Let's try that again with a bus stop and yet another bus stop. Right, now here we go. So let's get rid of that. Let's change the colour here to, you can be green. In fact, no, because the Amtrak line is green. You can be purple. So add station. You're coming from there to there. You're doing it nicely, which is fantastic. Quickly name this, and this will be Wilmington Station Link. We need yet another depot to serve Wilmington. Of course, it's not another depot for Wilmington, it's just another depot, but this one serves Wilmington. We want the max. We'll have 3 once again. It's not a bad number to start with. Colour them, maintenance, and away they go. Now we'll do the train lines. And we want the tracks. And I think we can just run pretty much straight flat here. Let's see where we headed to. Okay, so we are crossing this road here, but I think what we'll do this time around is, rather than having the train line run over the road, we'll eventually amend it so the road dips underneath the train line through a tunnel and what have you. The reason we don't need to do a bridge this time is because we're not crossing any bodies of water, so our train line doesn't need to be elevated in preparation for that. But there we go, that was nice and quick and easy. Did we put a diamond over here? No, so let's do that now before we forget. 40 mile an hour is fine. 50 would be better, but I just genuinely could not be bothered to change that. Let's get 50 on this one though, for good practice. It's always good. And there we go, that's a 50 mile an hour diamond. Now we just need to do the signals, of course, and it'll be the usual thing that we tend to do. A couple of blocks along the way, not too many, because it's not the longest journey between Wilmington and Philadelphia. I think we get away with one more. Here's our diamond. That's to clear, and then we haven't done this at every station, but we will put the two-way signals in just prior to entering the diamond as you're leaving the station, like so. Right, so we can go back to the Amtrak and amend it once again. So after Philadelphia, you're now coming in. No, we don't want to do a new line. Let's just try that again. So RP, Amtrak Northeast, Philadelphia, add station. There we go. Wilmington and then Philadelphia. Perfect. So we've got the 2 more to stop at. We've got Baltimore and Washington, but we'll leave that for another episode because we have unlocked the Atlantic a few moments ago, and it's probably worthwhile sticking that on some of our lines, or at the very least just checking to make sure if it would be an improvement. So let's filter so we can only see our train line. Just pop that out. Right, so let's go for a nice one that we know is nice and profitable, which is the grain freight. And what we're going to do is, well, first of all, just select 2 of them so we're not cluttering the screen too much. And we're just going to drop in an Atlantic and then give it a quick compare and contrast. So the speed remains the same because we're limited by our wagons. However, we have an extra 150 kilowatts of power available, and we're getting to our top speed a lot faster. So what if we were to do an extra couple of wagons on this? Let's just chuck an extra 2 on and then compare to the original or the starting train. Still faster. I think that's what we'll do. We'll add the Atlantic and 2 carriages per train. Of course, if we put them on the correct consist, it's going to make life infinitely better for us all. There we go. Not a tank car. And now we need to... I'm going to drop the colour scheme off of it. In fact, no. I'm going to mix this up a bit. I'm going to have one with the colour scheme. So back to locos, 442 Atlantic. And then the remaining trains, get your words out, will be in the default colour scheme. There we go. So just 9.3 million for that, which is not too bad at all. We may as well take a look at this, and we'll use our custom colour train first of all. So let's hop on over and let's have a good look at her. Yep, lovely looking train. Not too sure if the colour scheme suits it on that loco, and what we'll do is we'll actually just get one of the default and have a look at this one. I think this is going to look a lot better. Yeah, that's better. It does look better without the paint job, I think. So we'll stick without the paint jobs on our 442s. In terms of other lines which are profitable, let's just again expand this so we have a far easier time. Filter by our rail lines only, and then sort by balance. So yeah, we can see here, look, this is a lovely profitable line. This one is profitable, but because of the distance, as we know, they don't always make a profit every single year. But we do want to amend these ones as well. And again, let's just do 2 so it's easy to compare and contrast. Stick on the Atlantic. Now we know it's going to be better in its current state. Yeah, that's a lot better. So what we can probably do with this now is what we did with the grain train. Actually chuck on a few more tank cars. Let's go for 2 once again. Seem to be, in fact, should we go for... Well, we want to make sure we have an even number in our capacity, which we do. How's that? Do you know what? It's only an extra 4 meters to get to its top speed, you see. 2152 meters on a flat there, whereas this one is 2156. So I think we'll do that. It's... Yeah. It is faster on the medium, but it's getting there quite a bit slower, 2.4 kilometers versus 2.2 kilometers. But I think we'll go for that anyway. So let's add the extra tank cars on first. So we added 4 to get to 168 capacity, followed by the Atlantic. Great. Let's just modify them too, and then we'll do the last 2 separately, like so. So Atlantics first of all. So we'll do the locos first. Cargo wagons down to the tank cars, and we went for 4, didn't we? Now, if we wanted to, and it's an option, we could go to town on the amount of tank cars and say go there, 276, we're just under 300 meters, and then double head it like that. And what's that like? Well, that's better, isn't it? It's more expensive, of course, but I think I'm quite inclined to go with this suggestion, this idea. So let's do this throughout. So we want to get to 276 capacity, 15 million for 2, so we're only going to be able to afford to do 2 for now, because it's going to cost obviously another 15 to do the remaining 2 trains that we have. So we might have to wait just a few moments to accumulate the funds for these 2. But we may as well get them set up ready to go. So as soon as we hit the magic money target of 15.2 million, we can click the button and they'll be done immediately. While we're waiting, I will just bump up the speed, just try and get there a little bit faster, and if it ends up taking far too long, then I'll just put a cut in, but let's give it a moment and see. Okay, there's the magic target hit. So now we have some exceptionally long trains, and I think let's go and have a look at one of our new super beefy trains, shall we? So let's find our cargo line and just fly across in the hopes that we spot one of them. Let's see, here's that. No, you're not one. There's gonna be one somewhere. Let's see, are you? No, you're carrying bricks. Ah, here we go. I don't know why that's happening. Okay, do we have some sort of issue here? Yes, it looks like we do. So, are you waiting for tools? Yeah, and you can't get the tools because the wood can't get alongside, so let's just reverse you. Or what we could also do, in fact we'll do it as well just to try and avoid this happening in the future, is we'll manage this line and we'll give you a second platform choice of terminal number 3. So should that repeat, then this train instead will just head into terminal 3. Let's just speed things up because I'd like to get one of our fuel trains back out on the lines so we can see them in action. There's all sorts of clipping issues going on here at the moment. I'm sure they will sort themselves out in the not too distant future. Hopefully we're not going to overhang the junction there. Ooh, pretty much perfect. We could probably squeeze one more in, but I think we'd be causing trouble with the signal, so we'll leave it as is. And what we're going to do now is have a good look at this train. That's a proper length loco, that. Hopefully this should boost the income from this train because the excess capacity that we now have, or the increased capacity that we have provided it, but we shall see. It's going to take a little while for us to determine that because the length of the journeys that these are undertaking. But I do like the look of it. It's nice to see some more powerful cargo trains hitting the lines. And again, because we've just blown all our money on upgrade, well, let's call it what it is, we blew our money on the fuel trains, we're going to have to accumulate some more between episodes, as we did between episode 12 and this one. But that's fine. In the meantime, where is the Amtrak? Here we go. Just as a test, would these be better suited having themselves a 442 Atlantic, or would they be better with the 10-wheeler? Well, first comparison is the price, and we're paying an extra 100,000 per year in maintenance for the Atlantic. It's also 10 tons heavier than the 10-wheeler, which could impact its acceleration. But let's see. No, it's far better. Look at that. So once we have the funds, we shall do that, and at that point we might be able to start increasing the amount of carriages that we have on our Amtraks. For those of you who may be wondering, I haven't forgotten about getting the machines into Worcester. We should now be able to produce the machines. We are supplying steel, and I do believe we also set up the plank supply as well. Yes, we did. They really shouldn't be sharing a platform though. So let's just drop one onto terminal 1 like so. I don't know, we probably could afford to get a train into Worcester with the machines, which, as again we can see, does not accept food any longer, but I'm sure that will change pretty quickly. What we need to think about here though is what platform we'd want to use, and would we give it a dedicated platform. After all it's doing is dropping off cargo. It's not being loaded, so it's only be sat on platform for a few minutes, so it then heads on out once again. So we could probably get away with sharing a platform. Which platform would we want to double up with? Perhaps we would go for, well, I did maybe this one here where the bricks are being dropped off, because we have the fuel train go straight on through, but the bricks, much like the machinery, would just be unloading, so they wouldn't get stuck on platform by one another. So we could send it onto platform number 2. The machinery is required in up this way somewhere. I can't remember, I did see it previously, but can't remember where it's gone. But the best way to find out would be just to go to the cargo layer. It was over here last time I saw it, and we have one here, look. Yeah, I think it's just the one for now, but we never get the notification that Worcester requires machines again, which means it's more of a stable demand than the food is, for instance. So I think what we'll do to end, we will set up the, in fact first of all we need to set up the delivery line, don't we? And we'll use this new terminal that we built for the food, and we're going to drop off there. For the colour scheme, let's have something what we can see at a glance. That's fine, they are turning around, but we don't really have the space to have an exit over here, although we could have one either side perhaps. I'll experiment with that between episodes. We're just going to have them load whatever they can. Didn't want to do that, of course, so let's add that back in, please. Thank you very much. And we want to make sure they are only taking machinery, and obviously they're not going to be bringing anything back, but they couldn't if they wanted to. So this will be T for the truck, and this is our machinery delivery, and this is for the city of Worcester. Right, so let's get ourselves a slack handful of vehicles. The tarpaulin trucks it is, and let's have 3 of those. I think give them their paint job, put them on the line. What are you waiting for there? Oh, you're waiting for bricks to arrive. Okay, that's fine. Well, in fact, what we may as well do with you is you can just get what you want if available and then leave, just so we don't have traffic snaking back. I don't think it would cause a problem, but just to make sure. Okay, now we can do the line for the railroad. And what platform did we say? Platform number 3? Number 2. Yes, platform 2. So it'll be doubling up with the bricks. So there you go. You've already selected platform 2, which is fantastic. Ever so slightly amend the colour, and we'll go for full load here for now. That might need to be changed in the future, but it's not going to cause any issues at this point in time. Of course, we do want to make sure it's on its own dedicated platform, which it is, as we can see. I'm not sure which, I think it's this one here. The other one would be the steel, and we're going to call this rail cargo. And what do we want to call this? I'm just going to call it Worcester Machinery Freight. So just mixing up the rather than having machinery delivery or machinery freight Worcester, just going to put the city name first this time out. No real reason for doing that, but just to change it up a bit, really. Right, so let's purchase a train. I'm going to say we'll go with, I might even bring out the Virginia and Truckee once again. For cargo, we want the boxcar. I think we'll just start with 5, and we'll also start with just the single locomotive, the single train. because the demand for machinery is probably not that high. Put it on the line, and away she goes. And that's the last changes we're going to make for today's episode. What we're going to do now is pause the date progression and then take a little outro ride. Hopefully we have something heading towards Philadelphia and Wilmington. We have one heading back. It doesn't look like we've got anything due to arrive and head down that way imminently, which is a shame. So I think what we'll do then is, even though we're not going to appreciate the full length of new track we've just constructed, we are going to hop on this loco and head in towards Trenton. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and that you are continuing to enjoy this series overall and in general. As always, any shows and expressions of support are always welcome and deeply appreciated by yours truly. But for now, all that remains for me to say is enjoy the little cab ride we have. Take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.